What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Another video means another dopamine high because I had to buy something that feels something, and today we're back at it with another review. For today's review, we are taking a look at Hasbro's Star Wars The Black Series Geonosian Warrior, and a lot of people, including myself, can probably agree that this is a long overdue figure. Around 2 years now, Hasbro started branching out from just generic B1 battle droids. They started giving us super battle droids, commando droids, magma guards, destroyer droids, all these new figures to have our clone figures battle on our shelves or in our backyards or wherever you have your figures duke it out. And finally, in the great year of 26, we have the Geonosian Warrior to add to that roster. So I can say I'm very excited to go over this figure with you guys. And hopefully sooner than later after this release, because Hasbro's dipping into the Geonosians, maybe we can get a Poggle the Lesser figure, or, and this is me definitely reaching and just me being absolutely greedy, because Hasbro is reapproaching the Commando figure to be more accurate to the Republic Commando appearance, maybe we can get some Republic Commando Geonosians, like how they looked in-game, like the standard warriors, or at least the Geonosian Elite, because that is obviously an original design for that game, and that would be fucking awesome. But that's just me being a greedy nerd who just wants the absolute most out of the Black Series. But anyways, at any point during or after the video you realize you want to pick up this figure for yourself, there is a variety of locations you can online. I'll obviously leave links in the description of the video so you can access those websites after you're done watching the video. Starting off, we have good old reliable for $27.99 at Hasbro Pulse, and also for $27.99 you can go to the Big Bad Toy Store or Entertainment Earth, and then for $29.97 there is Walmart, and then for a whopping $29.99 you can go to the GameStop website or Amazon. And with all that out of the way, there's nothing else I really have to add, so let's open up this bad boy. So when it comes to the packaging, it is our standard Black Series packaging with that nice Attack of the Clones red. We have the titles on the front, obviously with what figure we're looking at and the movie that he appears in. On the side we have a nice little portrait of our Geonosian Warrior looking great, and then going to the back we have a larger version of that portrait and a brief description of what this figure is all about. And then going back to the front, it looks like everything that should be there is there. So let's open up this bad boy. So right out of the box, I can confirm that Hasbro did a great job with the visual presentation of this figure. Now, obviously, Geonosians are a bug-like species, so they have carapace-like skin, and Geonosis has rough environments. By no means is that planet a cakewalk, whether you're on the surface or in the tunnels down below. So naturally, Geonosians have very rugged skin, obviously from the environment that they live in, and Geonosians don't wear a lot of armor, so it's important to get down that rugged texture with all the grooves and shapes and whatnot, because you're going to see most of that opposed to a clone stormtrooper or a Mandalorian that's covered in head to toe in armor and has a lot of non-organic shapes. So I think Hasbro did a great job getting that texture down. All that natural just curves and lines that you would see on a Geonosian are there. And obviously I can give more specific examples of good sculpt work on this figure, such as the face. I love the amount of detail that's packed onto here, whether it's the eye wrinkles, the nostrils, or the mouth. We even have the torso with the skeletal like sculpt work for the stomach and back, and there's just so much going on with this figure. It just looks great. And then moving over to the Geonosian's armor, starting off with the piece that goes around his head. It's very rugged like the Geonosian skin. It's made up of organic shapes, lines, and curves, and it just looks really good. And on the complete opposite side of the spectrum, we have the waist piece, where it's a lot more ornate, a lot more organized. It still looks great. I'm not, bashing it because it's on the other side of the spectrum, to quote myself, but it's made up of some gold, brown, and red, and it just overall looks really good. And then the cherry on top, we have the wings, obviously one of the most important parts of the Geonosians, and I think that Hasbro knocked it out of the park. It's the perfect balance of transparent and vibrant, and I don't think they could have done a better job. And the texture on here is great. It's not just a flat surface, it's very rugged, or it's got texture. I'm not gonna say it's super rugged, but it's got texture to it for sure. And one thing that I almost forgot to talk about, which is crazy because I don't know how the fuck I do that, but the overall paint like for the body of the Geonosian, like I talked about the armor, I talked about the wings, but again, I don't know how I forgot to talk about the body of the Geonosian. It's great. It's made up of dark and light brown with some green green sprinkled in, and it's very natural, very organic. It doesn't feel like war paint or flat by any means. It looks like how it should on a Geonosian warrior. So diving into the head articulation first, we can rotate the head 360 degrees, and then we can also tilt the head side to side, and we can get some decent range bringing the head up and down as well. And then we can also rotate the neck 360 degrees. The neck can also be moved side to side, and finally the neck can be moved back and forth as well. And then moving over to the arm, it can be rotated 360 degrees up and over, and there is a butterfly joint in the shoulders to allow for the arm to extend further a bit more. And then we can bring the arm up and down a decent amount, and the said can be said about the range when you flip the arm 180 degrees to bring it up and down. And then from the elbow down, you can rotate the arm 360 degrees, and then for the elbow bend we get some really good range going past that 90-degree mark. And then moving down to the hands, you can rotate them 360 degrees and bend the wrists however you please. And then moving down to the torso can be rotated 360 degrees. You can get some decent range out of swaying the torso side to side, and you can get some alright back and forth motion with the torso as well. And then moving down to the legs, they can be rotated up and over 360 degrees, and when it comes to the splittage, we get some really good range on this figure. And moving down to the first knee joint, it can be rotated 360 degrees along with the rest of the leg going down, and that same principle applies to the second knee joint, getting that 360 degree spin. And then going back up to the first knee joint, we can get a nice bend, and just like with the first knee, the bend on the second knee is really good. And then for the feet, you can rotate them 360 degrees and bend the ankle however you please. And then for the wings, they can be rotated 360 degrees, and they are on a ball joint, so they have some side to side swivel, and they can be brought back and forth a decent amount as well. And the second pair of wings are attached to the first pair via ball joint, so all that range of motion that we saw on the first pair can be found on the second as well, so being rotated 360 degrees, being able to swivel side to side and back and forth. So kicking off this segment, probably one of the coolest things about this figure is that the wings on the Geonosian warrior is actually swappable. You could swap them out for these like mid-flight wings where they're a bit thicker to make it look like the wings are flapping back and forth really fast. There isn't as much color on there, probably because again it's supposed to look like the wings are in motion, but I just thought it was really cool that Hasbro gave us this second pair of wings so we can have more variety in displaying our figures, and that's always a welcome thing. More variety is always great. So props to Hasbro for including these. And these mid-flight wings actually pair really well with the next accessory, which is this flight stand. So if you want to display your Geonosian warrior as if he was flying, you can obviously put the mid-flight wings on and then obviously put them on the stand. And one really neat thing is that the end of the stand is a ball joint, so you can maneuver the figure on the stand, so you can, again, more variety for posing and stuff like that. And the only mixed feelings I really have about this is because it's a ball joint at the end of the stand, the hole that goes on the figure is a bit distracting. I mean, I know the waist armor kind of covers it up, but it is what it is, I guess, to make it work. And I'll say this in any review, a stand is always welcome with a figure. I feel like every figure should come with a stand. And for the final accessory, we have the Sonic Blaster. This is the first time we're seeing this in the Black Series, and it's obviously a welcomed addition. And for starters, this is actually a really good attempt at the blaster. I have no issues with it personally. I think the paint job is great with the brown, the grays, and the green at the end of the barrel, and there's surprisingly a lot of detail that's been put into this blaster. I mean, obviously the silhouette of the blaster is pretty funky because it's for the ergonomics of the Geonosian warriors, but there's just a lot of lines and panels and texture sculpted into like the stock and around the prongs at the end of the barrel. There's just a lot going on, and I think Hasbro did a great job at portraying this blaster. And I know I just talked about this blaster having a funky silhouette because it's meant to be ergonomically friendly for Geonosians, not really other humanoid species or humans. But one thing I notice is that if you try to have your figure hold this weapon with one hand, or you're trying to do stop motion or something, the blaster wobbles around a lot. I don't know if it's from how big the hands are or what, but unless your figure is holding this blaster with two hands, this blaster tends to wobble around. So I mean, if you're just trying to display your
your figure on your shelf and not really going to be messing around with it, it's not really an issue. But again, if you're someone who's interested in stop motion or is just, you know, very hands-on with their figures, figured just be something I could point out to y'all. And here we are at the turntable segment of the video, pretty much where I go over my thoughts and opinions on the figure, you know, pros, cons, strengths, weaknesses, stuff like that, and give y'all something to bounce off of and go down in the comment section below and get a conversation started. And I'll most likely reply to y'all's comments because I clearly love talking about this stuff. And I always kick off this segment talking about the sour stuff because I don't like dwelling on the negative any longer than I already have to. And honestly, there isn't too much I dislike about this figure. I feel like this was a solid attempt done by Hasbro, but if there were two like nitpicky things I could point out, the first one being the ball joint hole for the stand on the Geonosian. Now, the waist piece does cover it up for the most part, but some would argue it's still distracting. But honestly, if you're just going to have this figure displayed on your shelf, you're not really going to be looking at the back of this figure anyways, so it's not the end of the world in my opinion. And then the only other thing I can even think about nitpicking is the Sonic Blaster being very loose in the hand of the Geonosian. Like, yeah, the blasters are made to be wielded by them, so you'd think it would fit perfectly into their hand. And like I said earlier, this would only really be an issue for people who do stop motions or are very hands-on with their figures. But if you're someone like me who's going to probably keep this figure on your shelf and not really mess around with it too much, it shouldn't be the biggest issue. And getting into the positives, and just off the rip, the fact that we have a brand new mold in the library of Black Series figures, and off the rip, it's a great mold, is always a good thing. Like, overall, this is a great looking figure, the articulation is great, so it's a great feeling figure, and I feel like they handled the accessories perfectly. Like, the blaster looks great. I know I went over the whole it being wobbly in the hand thing, but as far as the visuals go, I think they did a great job. And having two different wing types for in-flight and, you know, not flying is great. I love the thought that was put into that. And then the cherry on top being the stand that coincides with the wings. Well, I couldn't be any happier with what we got here accessories wise with this figure. And if there was one thing I could add to this figure, it'd maybe be a spear for the Geonosian warrior, because we do see Geonosians with spears in the Star Wars universe, and granted, that's just something I would add. I don't think this figure needs it to be the perfect figure, just, you know, something to add to the discussion, I guess. So at the end of the day, I would absolutely recommend that you pick up this figure. It's a welcome addition to the Black Series. I hope that they can do more with the Geonosian mold, whether it's a Poggle the Lesser, or it's a Spearman Geonosian warrior, or they want to build off of this and give us some Republic Commando Geonosians, which I know that is a very big ask from Hasbro. So regardless, if you're a Attack of the Clones fan, you just like the various species and aliens that are seen throughout Star Wars, or you just want something for your clones to fight that isn't droids, I highly recommend picking up this figure. And with all that said, I want to know your thoughts and opinions. Please tell me if you have this figure. Do you like this figure? Do you dislike this figure? You know, tell me what you think and what you want to know, and I'll most likely reply to y'all's comments because obviously I like talking about this stuff. And with all that said and done, that was Hasbro's Star Wars The Black Series Geonosian Warrior from their Attack of the Clones wave. And if you did enjoy today's video, a like and a subscription would be greatly appreciated. Don't worry about commenting if you don't want to. Obviously, I want to know what y'all think, but if you don't want to, I get it. It's a lot of effort moving your fingers. And don't worry about the bell, because we both know that shit is broken. And if you want to see more content like this, I have a handful of Black Series reviews already up on the channel, so please go check those out. And if you like franchises like Halo, Alien, Predator, Alien vs. Predator, or Warhammer, I have reviews covering figures and collectibles from those franchises as well, so go check those out. And with all that said, please have a great day and stay hydrated. It's important.